You don't need me to tell you your power bill skyrocketed under Chris Bowen, but now it's the price of motor vehicles that will be hit as Labor's climate agenda gathers pace. Under the Albanese government's tough new vehicle emission standards, the automotive industry is warning that an extra $2.7 billion will be added to car costs. That, of course, will be passed on to consumers. While the projected price rises will all vary, it's worth keeping in mind manufacturers of the bigger vehicles. So these are the utes and trucks Australians increasingly love, the Chevys and the Ram trucks particularly. They'll be hit the hardest. Joining me now to discuss this and more, Leader of the Nationals in the Senate, Bridget McKenzie. Well, you live, Senator, in a regional electorate, so I know this matters a great deal. These are the sort of vehicles that those in the bush and our farmers must drive. It's a safety issue as much as anything else, but they're the ones that'll be hit the hardest.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. And it's not just our farmers, it's our tradies who need to purchase utes to do their jobs, and it's the SUVs that flood our primary school car parks and the sporting fields for weekend kids sport. Australians need and love to drive SUVs, utes, and those heavier vehicles, and they're exactly the types of cars that are going to be slugged by Labor's car tax. We know now that in 1 year alone, $2.7 billion of a secret car tax that Labor's been trying to hide the impact of has now been exposed, and that's going to drive the prices up of those cars that everyday Australians want to purchase up by thousands and thousands of dollars. We know that cars are, often the second biggest purchase you're going to make in your life outside of your home. Mm-hmm. And in a particular twist of Canberra crazy, hybrids, Peter, are going to also be slugged. It's just nuts.
The other thing I noticed, I went to try and turn my car over. I've got a diesel V6 engine and I love my diesel. I'm not going to go over for diesel or petrol at least. But I went to try and turn it over and I had two options. To change the engine side, I have to go with a 4-cylinder or I go with electric. The 6-cylinder is gone, the diesel is gone. I asked, why is that? They said there's new caps from Canberra, and they're limiting the size of some engine types so that, with some other vehicles, the overall brand can put a little bit more grunt in an engine over there, but the mid-size that I like, they're stripping away the bigger engines.
Absolutely, and if you need to tow a horse float, a jet ski, if you need to do big Ks, have larger payloads than just scooting around inner city Melbourne or Sydney, you are going to be the one that is absolutely slugged. And I guess we've been trying to say this ever since the Labor government slammed these emission standards through the Parliament without an inquiry, without the right to have second reading speeches, ask questions of the Minister or any scrutiny. We raised significant concerns about them needing to release the modelling so we could understand the impact. And here we have, come the start of 2025, industry modelling that absolutely confirms our worst fears.
Let's go to your shadow portfolio. I particularly want to go to aviation. The Employment Minister, Murray Watt, he's kiboshed the appointment of a new CEO at Virgin at the behest of the Transport Workers Union. Now, how on earth do we have a minister being told by a union, pick up the phone, ring one of the companies that you regulate as minister, and you dictate to them who they can and can't have as their CEO?
Well, Peter, I think this is what happens when you let shop stewards become senators. We've actually seen under Labor the union power bolstered right throughout our economy with their industrial relations laws, where they can dictate the terms not only of EBAs but now the vetting approval process of private companies appointing management positions. And it's an appalling state of affairs. We've seen this overreach by ministers before into regulatory environments that they have oversight on. And I think it just goes to show that how beholden Labor ministers are right across the board, not just to the TWU, but to the ACTU members more broadly in the conduct of their duties.
Now, I know you were once a pretty handy netballer. I know you love women's sport. You're passionate about protecting sport for women and girls. You would have been pretty happy to see those comments from Peter Dutton last week that he doesn't think it's controversial, that he says this is an issue that voters really care about. Can we hope to see something from the coalition before we vote in the election on this?
Well, I think so many of us have been so public and forthright in our views around biological men competing against women in women's sport. Thankfully now, thanks to the pressure of the broader community globally, we are seeing a lot of sporting bodies make decisions to protect women in sport. I want to see every young girl in Australia who's competing in sport aspire to the very highest podium that she can, and she won't win if she's competing against biological men, and that is just a sad reality. So I was really buoyed by Dutz's comments, and obviously we want to see as many women and young girls competing in safe spaces in women's sport going forward.
You're not wrong, Bridget. We'll leave it there. Thank you for your time.